These days, it's trendy to say that old school players, that the older players from the original Dungeons and Dragons are thisist, thatist, phobes, and every other bad word in the book. That they're not accepting of handicapped people, for example, that disabled mechanics and disabled rules are necessary to allow disabled people to feel welcome. Well, I'm here to tell you today that that's not the case. Then it's natural, of course, people are going to be inclusive. Why? Because it's a fantasy game. If we could accept elves and half-elves, I'm telling you, you could accept me with my brown skin and my sexual diverse attitude. That's just the way it is. There was never a problem. We're going to look at Dragon Magazine number 53 from 1981. That's right, September 1981, 40 years ago, up on a soapbox. September 1981, Dragon number 53. That's right. Adventuring with Shaky Hands. Where there's a will, there's a way to play. By Judith Sampson. If you've attended large gatherings of D&D game enthusiasts, you've very likely met at least one handicapped or disabled player. Have you ever wondered how they conquered their limitations and became just one of the players? I'm one such player. Here's what my problems are and how I overcame them. I have chorioathetoid cerebral palsy, which sounds like the name of a creature from the AD&D Monster Manual. This means the motor control centers in my brain don't work properly. My body's gripped by writhing, dancing motions that interfere with my sense of balance, the use of my hands, and my reflexes. I can't drive a car. Walking is a dangerous chore, and everyday life is a constant battle against a bulky body. But I've achieved through independence to maintain my own apartment, and I work part-time as an English composition coach at the University of Arizona. Over 40 years ago, Judith had a severe disability, and yet she was able to enjoy tabletop gaming. D&D, Dungeons Dragons. It was a welcoming and inclusive place for all, and it still is. OSR, old school Renaissance types, know this 110% because they were there just like I was always accepted for myself the way I am. And yet today we would be told that we were not inclusive. A very vocal minority, in fact, would tell us that we were not inclusive and that we need to change and that we are the old guard. And this is the reason, very specifically, that in this context, Ernie Gygax's comments to be taken as ableist and thisist and ism this and sexist that and everything else, because that's the way we were, because we're old. We always accepted everybody. Judith Sampson knows this. Let's read a little bit about how she tackled her disability in the game setting, considering that she had cerebral palsy. I wanted to play in a D&D adventure as soon as I heard about the game from players in the Society for Creative Anachronism, of which I am an active member. At last, I met Judith, an ex-Navy frogman, a pre-law student, a genial man with whom I shared a keen interest in science fiction, fantasy literature, and playing the D&D game. Week after week, while we ate our lunches or waited for classes, he regaled me with tales of his exploits as a D&D player, past and present. I told him one day, if you ever set up your own campaign, Joubert, I want a spot in it. I always tell a DM and other players my problem and ask for the aid of their more nimble, willing fingers to write down the data and monetary information, hit points or experience point changes on the score sheets. I also have other players move my character's miniature figure as needed, and if I must convey a secret message to the DM, I don't try to write it down. I go to him and whisper in his ear. Now you may say to me, Joubert was an outlier, and I will say this to you, nay, brother, Joubert was the standard of the day because we wanted people to play with us and we were always accepting. It didn't matter race, color, creed, religion, disability. If you had a problem like Mademoiselle Judith Sampson, well, we tried to make it work because we wanted more players. And this is 1981, 40 years ago. I hear a lot of negative talk about OSRIC players. It's patently untrue. Judith Sampson is not the exception. She was the rule. The final conclusion, Judith writes, the D&D and AD&D games are attractive to handicapped or disabled players for the same reasons that other people enjoy them. But to someone like me, hampered by hands and a body that refuses to be reliable, running a fearless fighter, a nimble thief, a graceful elf, or a powerful paladin offers the opportunity to be resourceful and quick on one's feet for a while, which never happens in my all-too mundane real world. Free, agile, daring in spirit I play, but I can never forget that when the game's done, I face a much greater adversary than any DM can dream up. My bulky body.